Okay, and play. Hey, video game fans, this is Matt. Long time no play. So we got an oldie but a goodie today, and I'm going to record several videos. Gotta get into the game so I can turn off all the crappy. Okay, so this is Fallout New Vegas, old school game. At this point, it's old school. This is not my first play. This video, I decided the games have been. There's a new TV series out in the Fallout universe, and a lot of new people are discovering the game for the first time. And some of them, because the games are incredibly marked down right now on Steam and on other platforms like Xbox Live, people are picking these games up and playing them for the first time or rediscovering them. And I thought maybe I'd put some videos out that might be helpful to these new people. Some of them will be spoilerish. Some of it will be, but I intend these to be helpful guides. These are little tricks and tips and things that I've discovered because I have logged several hundred hours into this game on my Xbox. And although playing it on the PC is new to me, because I again was one of these people who bought the game for like $5, and I mean this is a great game. I've already bought the thing twice, but that's a long story. So I wanted to create a series of videos, hopefully small videos that will help the new players along, or maybe give them a little assistance, benefiting from my experience. When you first start the game, you're going to wake up groggily in Doc. What is his name? Doc Hansen, isn't it? Doc Mitchell. What was Doc Hansen in? I don't know. Doc Mitchell's room. And you'll go through the character creation process. You'll first determine what you look like. He'll have you come over to the vigor tester. You're going to determine your specials. Actually, I don't have access to my inventory yet because I haven't talked to him. I chose a character that has a really high luck, but fairly low charisma and pretty low endurance. And then I kind of pinged up the other attributes as needed, just because I love playing characters that have very low stat and a very high stat. It makes each play a little bit different. It's one of the things that I was disappointed by with Skyrim is that there's no attributes. So every single play of Skyrim, you're playing essentially the exact same character no matter what you do with it because they don't have any ability scores. Whereas in this game and in the previous Elder Scroll games, you had ability traditional RPG stats. So you could play a character that's very strong or very weak or very intelligent or very stupid, for example. And it has large game playing an impact, your dialogue, your ability to interact with your environment. After you get your vigor tester stats, you come over and he has you sit down and he asks you a bunch of questions, gives you a bunch of rundown. Feel free to go through and RPG it, pick things that you'd pick that you think your character would pick. Or if you're in a hurry and you just want to get through it, just pick the first answer that's on there. Bing, 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 bing. You'll get a selection of where to tag your first three. I think what are the abilities? Just pick the three things that you want to give yourself a leg up on. It's not necessarily something you're going to invest a lot of points in. I use it as a way of putting points into the attributes you're not going to develop a whole lot. So at least you're competitive right out of the gate. I think I always pick lockpicking. Almost always pick lockpicking because there's so many things in this game that you need to access behind locked chests and things, and it helps if you have a good lockpicking skill. And I think I picked barter only because I don't put many points into it, and I want to make sure I get good trade value off the stuff that I find. Right now, before you leave Doc Mitchell's place, you should go through it and pick up the little bits of stuff that he has, because he's got quite a bit of things in here. You get some ammo, some first aid kits, you can get some basic stuff. Just put it all in your inventory. A lot of it you're just going to sell. I mean, there's food, and there's water, and there's other stuff. Feel free to go through every little nook and cranny, but nothing in here is going to make or break the game. There are some bottle caps. Easy to miss, especially in the PC or in the Xbox version. It's so dark in here, but actually this is fairly well lit in the PC. There's also some stim packs on this shelf, some Rad-X, anti-venom, which you probably won't need, but... And there's a gun case, there's a laser pistol that's not in great shape, and some energy weapons. Those are always in there. A pack of cigarettes are always good for trade. There is a Today's Physician on his desk. Make sure you take that. If you take the penalty of, what was it called? It's like 4 eyes or something like that, where you need to have a pair of glasses or you suffer a perception. There are a pair of glasses, reading glasses on here, so you're not coming out of the game with a big detriment. There's also a med kit or doctor's bag right next to the bed that you wake up on. And then over here there's a couple of things that you may or may not have access to now, but you might want to return to later. There's a chemistry set. You need to have a science skill 25 better or to access it. I don't, so that'll have to wait. There's also a broken submachine gun. You need a repair of 25. If you don't have that, just leave it, come back and get it later. And there's some sunset sarsaparilla. Go ahead and take that. And lastly, on this little thing, there are some various little medical things you might want or need later. That's essentially it for your opening location. I like to grab all of that stuff. You can always come back here later. Nothing in here is imperative that you have to get. Once you talk with Doc Mitchell, he will set you up. He will give you your initial gear.
Here, these are yours. Was all you had on you when you was brought in. I hope you don't mind, but I gave the note a look. I thought it might help me find a next of kin. But it was just something about a platinum chip. Well, if you're heading back out there, you ought to have this. They call it a Pip-Boy. I grew up in one of them vaults they made before the war. We all got one. Ain't much use to me now, but you might want such a thing after what you've been through. I know what it's like having something taken from you. And put this on too, so the locals don't pick on you for lacking modesty. Never was much my style anyway. Don't...
Okay, now you get a choice between hardcore mode or not. They recommend you don't. I recommend you do. If you don't play with hardcore mode, then pretty much every food item in the game just acts as a low-level healing item. If you play with hardcore mode on, food will have a little more value. It'll also mean that you'll need to worry about your thirst and a lot of other things that in the basic game are kind of relegated and not really used. I just like it. It's a little more immersion in the world. It's not that hard. They act like it's going to be some major like, ooh, it's going to make this game so much harder. It really isn't. And I think it helps the RPG side of it. So I always play with it on. I am playing on hard mode. Because I'm experienced. I could play it on higher than that, but I don't want to die every other combat I'm in. I still might die and have to restart some. Okay, so in the upper left-hand corner, when you were talking to him, he gave you what is your initial supply of stuff, and it wasn't much. He gave you a 9mm pistol. He gave you the Vault 21 jumpsuit that used to be his, and a handful of little things, and that was it. Everything else in this inventory is stuff I just picked up by running around the place. The empty syringes, the cigarettes, all the other crap. And the rest of the stuff that's in here is stuff that that comes with the DLCs. And there's if you install the game the way it is now, you're going to get all of these. I recommend not using it, but you can't exactly just turn them off. So the Vault 13 canteen is a special item that you shouldn't have, but it's nice. It's going to allow you to maintain your thirst, deal with your thirst issues in a more efficient way. The bigger deal is that they give you several sets of armor that are better, or at least equal to, if not better, than the stuff you're going to find out in the world. Playing with any of these things is kind of cheaty, but if this is your second, third, or fourth playthrough, then this just kind of gives you a leg up without having to grind for a bunch of stuff early in the game. You can sell it. What I like to do, if you want to be a completionist, you like to collect everything, but if not, you can go ahead and sell it to the local merchant, and it'll be worth some money. I like to go in and say, okay, what kind of armor do I want to wear? And I usually wear the lightweight leather, because it's basically the same as the armored vault suit, but it's lighter. It's worth more. So I'm going to leave the armored jumpsuit in the foot locker here. If you want to go with the heavy armor build, this is great armor. It's lightweight metal armor. It offers a lot of protection, and it's only 20 pounds compared to the 10 pounds. But I usually wear. It also comes with an agility penalty, and I don't like wearing things that give me penalties unless it's like, the big armor. And then if you want to play a raider build, great. You can start off playing a raider, with the tribal raider armor, but I generally don't do that either. Likewise, they give you a bunch of other stuff. They give you a pair of binoculars, which are marginally useful. They give you a broad machete, which is a unique item. I recommend. It's a decent melee weapon, and whether or not you use melee, you never know. If you run out of ammo, this is a weapon of last resort. Mercenary grenade rifle is a unique weapon, slightly better than the basic grenade rifle. Offers a nice little boom. Go ahead and keep that. The sturdy caravan shotgun, again, it's not a great weapon, but at this start in the game, without this, you're starting off with a 9mm pistol. So this initial gear isn't too bad. This also allows you to use up ammo. That's the other part about the hardcore mode. Hardcore mode, you have to deal with the weight of all your ammo. If you don't have hardcore mode, then you can carry as much ammo as, well, there's an infinite amount, I guess. Ammo won't weigh anything, which isn't very realistic, so that's why I prefer hardcore mode. But it does mean you're going to have to, every once in a while, shed some of the ammo from weapons you don't use because you keep accumulating more and more and more of it. Throwing spears. I don't use throwing spears, so I'm going to go ahead and store them. The weathered 10mm pistol is also, statistically, it's the same as a normal pistol. I think it just has a little bit of wear and tear. I don't know exactly, but it's the unique version of a 10mm pistol, and I recommend keeping it. The other stuff, anything that you find in his place, go ahead and keep it. That's the intro. Welcome to Goodsprings. Now, the rest of the DLC stuff, the DLC content, not the little extra bonuses, because those things have already loaded up. These are the actual DLCs, the different environments. So the Old World Blues is going to pop up. It's going to up your maximum levels. Reunion, Lonesome Road, Happy Trails, Honest Hearts. Gunrunner's Arsenal, which is a fun one. Lots of new weapons and equipment.
Howdy, partner.
Go ahead and talk to Victor here if you want. You can learn a little bit more about the information at the preview, the movie that happens before you start the game. If you watch that, you're going to get a little information from him. It's not all that important, but if you want to chat with him, there's plenty of little dialogue options. So, my guide to Goodsprings. Quite simple. You come out, first thing you should do, Sierra Madre, Dead Money. It's still loading up DLCs. It'll do this for a little bit. Once all of them are loaded up, you don't have to worry about those little interruptions. Okay. Tip number 2, I guess. Tip number 1 dealt with, basically looting his place for neat little gear. I didn't even go into his bedroom. There's some weapons and armor and stuff in there too, but like I said, nothing in there is that great, and you can always go back in if you decide you forgot something and you don't want to go back in. But this second advice, I recommend any player, new player or otherwise, you should always do this. Go through the entire town of Goodsprings and loot every single thing that's in a mailbox. Most of it's junk. As you can see, this is junk. I believe there are 13 mailboxes. I've done this so many times. But if you're lucky, you're going to find at least a few magazines. A few of them might be empty like that one was. Most of them, though, are going to have junk in them. La Fontana helps your sneak ability. So, if you're familiar with Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas added magazines. Magazines basically give you a one-time or a short-time bonus to your individual. What are they called? I gotta get the terminology right. Your skills. I was right. They were skills. So magazines will give you right now a plus 10 bonus to any one of your skills. There is a perk that can double that to plus 20. So I recommend not using any of these skill books until you absolutely have to have them, or until you get that perk. Because making a magazine give you a plus 10 is fine, but a plus 20 is awesome. It also adjusts the books. The books are also a carryover from the Fallout 3. They give you a permanent plus 1 to one of your specials. And if you have the perk the perk will double them. It'll make them better. So I recommend finding any book and magazine you can, but don't use them yet. I'll explain why you want to go through the entire town of Goodsprings in a bit, but trust me, go ahead and hit every single one of these mailboxes up. Even if it ends up getting you only 1 or 2 magazines, it should get you about between 3 and 5. But even if it only gets you 1 or 2, that's still fine. I also like getting this toolbox from some little junk. This trailer doesn't have anything in it. And this isn't a spoiler. This is just a play guide that through the number of times that I've played this, I discovered. And it's like, well, wow, there's a little exploit you can take advantage of. And that's all this is. This is just an exploit. Go through the entire town. That's everything. That's all the mailboxes on that side of town. You just got a handful more here. There's one here. Empty. I'm surprised. A lot of these are empty. My last playthrough of this, I only had like 1 empty mailbox on my first playthrough. So it's entirely random. Like I said, you might only get 1 or 2 magazines, but you could get 3 to 5 of them. If nothing else, just take all the junk out of them. You're going to sell all this stuff anyway. Lad's Life, okay, that gives you plus 10 to survival. It's 10, that's 1 more. These are the last 2 mailboxes. Lad's Life. Those are good ones. Lad's Life are good because you use them at campfires. And meeting people for speech, probably the least valuable. If you like, at this point, you can go up to the cemetery, but you don't have a shovel, so you can go up there now. You can shoot some bloat bugs, bloat flies, and loot the graves and get your little snow globe, which is the collectible in this version of the game. There's also a safe that can be unlocked in that house, and there's loot in both. What's his name? Pokey Pete, whatever his name, Pete, and Trixie, and the house that the women share up there. So this is my second bit of advice, is to go through on all of the mailboxes. This is a 2.1 because there's a second part of the reason why you want to do that. The other thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and go into Victor's Shack. Victor's Shack is a decent place to turn into your own house. As you can see, there's a bed in here that you can use. There's lots of little storage. There's a weapon repair kit. There's some nice, raw material. There's a few different ammo cases with some ammo in it. The shelf, I've played through this game where I've placed my weapons on these shelves. It's a nice little display. You can turn this into your own little makeshift home base until you find something more permanent, more where the game wants you to live. This is not necessarily where the game wants you to live, but it is available. As far as I know, this stuff does not respawn. So if you want to use storage in here, storage in the oven, put your food in there. You can store your ammo in the different ammo boxes. Like I said, I've logged hundreds of hours into this, and I've never had anything in here respawn. So I'm pretty sure everything in here is fairly safe. So basically, you could use this as your home. You could also share houses with the other, NPCs that are in this town, but nobody will go into that building, so it's a nice little house And the fact that there's a bed in there makes it that much better. So that was tip number 3. If you want to turn that into your home, it's not so much that you need it for your house. It's that if you're like me and you're a pack rat, you're going to collect a lot of garbage. And that's a great place to leave it. So this little bit, if you got your lockpicking skill high enough, you can come back into the moonshine area and pick up some moonshine. It is considered stealing, but nobody can see you, so it's not that big a deal. It's possible you've played this game before and you never even knew this was a thing. I don't know when I discovered that it was a thing. I always ran by it, saw that it was locked, and I figured, oh, I'll probably access it from the inside. Oh, no, you don't. It's exterior access only. I don't know if that's exactly a tip, but it is a little thing where you can get some moonshine. Of course, there's the workbenches and the ammo things. One other thing you want to do before you get too far is you want to make sure you ping this. There's your Mojave Express mailbox thing. That's how you can trade things, between towns without having to carry it on your back. Basically, all this crap you've been picking up. I'm not going to chat with him right now. I just want to trade stuff. Okay, so here's the next little clue. What is this? Helpful advice number 4 in Goodsprings. Sell all the crap you don't need. 9mm pistol, laser pistol. If you choose to keep those are fine. I generally keep most of my healing stuff and definitely keep my magazines. But all of this other crap, ashtrays, ball gloves, butter knives. Cigarettes are about the most valuable thing per weight because they're so light, but they're actually worth a lot compared to their relative weight. Decide something you sold you wanted to keep. I'll keep that fission battery. Okay, and then there's the ammo. Right now, I don't really want to get rid of any of my ammo. So now, as far as what he is carrying in his miscellaneous, go through his entire list of miscellaneous and look for any playing cards. They won't come up in any other category. You gotta get them in miscellaneous. He might not have any right now. No, he will later. He will have some weapon mods and maybe even some GRA weapons, but they are pretty expensive, and right now you are strapped for cash, so you probably won't be able to get any of those. And he does have a couple of mods, I believe. He usually starts with 1 or 2 mods. Plasma pistol. Again, there's a he's selling you a plasma pistol, and boom, you have a mag accelerator right there. But they're expensive. Don't worry about it. The one thing you do want to get, go into weapons. He always has a shovel. You don't have to buy one here. There's one that you can find somewhere else. I'm going to go ahead and buy it because it's typically, if you do want to go up to the cemetery now, take your shovel. No. There.
Give me a shout if you need anything.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5.
Cheyenne, stay. Yeah, I get.
Oh, shoot. I screwed that up. Okay. There we go. Second try.
Stay.
Don't talk to her right away about that. Go ahead and get all these advice. Before you say Dr. Mitchell could teach you how to survive, don't do that. Do that last. Do all the other conversation stuff. This way she'll mark stuff on your map. As a new player, this is going to be useful. Short on caps. Don't suppose there's any work available.
Not in Goodsprings, no.
She gives you a locksmith reader.
But if you're up for a little
some bobby pins.
There's always the schoolhouse.
She tells you about the schoolhouse.
Most of what's in there is junk, but there's this old.
So that's nice. You can do this same dialogue later. I just recommend getting it out of the way now because you're going to be doing these things.
Always happy to help someone.
What do you do around here? Let's talk about the areas around Goodsprings. What towns are nearby?
Southeast of here is Prim.
She marks
Can't
Prim.
miss it. Since it has... If you...
She tells you about going, not to go north. You can get information about Caesar's Legion, about the NCR, about the local bandits. And then her and her dog are going to go to the back. Before you do that, there's magazines in here. Make sure you're kneeling. Don't have to. Nobody can see you over here, but if you're kneeling, it'll let you know whether you're hidden or if somebody can see you. That's why I think that that's useful. Behind here is where that distillery is. There's really nothing else in here. There is a revolver in a glass here, but this dude's over here sitting at the bar. You can get this later if you want without having to, kill anybody. There's also a busted radio that right now you can't access, but later on you can fix. In the office area, there are some books. There are 2 magazines on that. You want to pick those up. There is a locked safe that you can either you need a 75 in lockpicking, which you're not going to have for quite a while, or you can hack for 25, which is probably the way you're going to do it. I think there's a gun and some other little assorted stuff in there, nothing major. There's also a locked door here. Now, you don't need to do this, but if you want to practice, you get a little experience. You lose a little karma, but you get 18 experience points for unlocking that. So, what the heck? Okay, she's going to give you a varmint rifle.
See the sarsaparilla bottles on the fence there? Take this and try to hit a couple of them. That's the right idea. Look down the sight.
Oh, this controller is so much more sensitive than my
Try crouching down and staying
old
still.
Xbox
It'll help
controller.
you in. Nice shot. Well, that's a start.
Okay. Again, I recommend
Follow
just
me.
go ahead and going along with her. Now, this varmint rifle kind of sucks. This is where you could choose to switch out one of your other weapons. I am going to switch my armor. Don't stray too far from town, and you won't have to worry about triggering the point of no return. Point of no return, once you reach that, you can change your stats. Basically rebuild your character if you don't like the build that you created. Oh, where'd they go? Okay, go over here.
Hear that up on the ridge behind me there? We got some geckos to clear out. Bunch of little monsters is what they are. Seems like Doc Mitchell treats more gecko bites than anything else. Let's see if we can get a little closer.
Okay, so she teaches you to sneak. With her dog barking, you're not going to sneak up on anybody.
Okay, you're on. Go get him.
VOTS. It's a pretty good little shotgun. Now, I mentioned before that you didn't need to get a shovel. No, it's not here. It's in the next next spring. You can go ahead and get gecko meat from them or just leave them.
See? You're getting the hang of... There's 2 more...
Sure, I'll help.
Come with me.
Now, there's the next a little bit of advice that first time I played it, didn't realize it, and ended up getting the girl killed. It's stuff that they don't tell you. So the next water hole... You got a girl down here being attacked by several geckos. There we go.
Cut it out, will you? Holy moly. If you hadn't come here like you done, I'd be a goner for sure. I came up here to draw water, but here, you should have what I got.
Helping her out makes you accepted by the community, gives you a little more experience, but she could die, and if she dies, then that's all she was here for. She's just going to go back and live with Sonny and...
Now that was some good work. Even got a little exciting there at the end. Here's a little spending money for the trouble. One more thing I wanted to show you. Thought I might teach you about living... All right, then.
Okay, now here,
We'll need a couple ingredients to
she
get
tells you to
started.
get Xander root and
Gonna
Brock
want some
flowers.
Xander root and a Brock flower. Let me think now. I know I've seen Brock flowers growing up at the
She
graveyard.
sends you to the
And I
graveyard.
seem to remember there being Xander root over by the school.
And the schoolhouse. Now here's another little tidbit of advice. Okay, first off,
Howdy.
go back to the water hole that you were running to. Again, you can loot all these things and cook up their bodies if you want. There's a shovel. So if you don't buy one, you can always find one there. And then, since I have two of them, oh no, I just dropped my shovel on accident. Oh great. Oh, there it is. Use one to fix the other. That's fine. It's a tool. You're never going to use it as a weapon. Okay, so here's the little advice on this one. If this is your first time play, I do recommend going to the cemetery and the school because it's going to get you some stuff. But if you already hit the cemetery, then you already got some key information already. If you go there early, the Brock flower will not be there. The Brock flower only generates there if you agree to this part of the mission. Here's the thing. She tells you to go find Brock flowers and Xander roots and tells you basically you have to run back to town. But the hills back here are loaded with both the root and the Brock flower. They're found... The Brock flowers are found in little clusters and little flat areas, and you'll find the root at the base of some of these hills. But anyway, if you don't want to have to go through this whole rigmarole running back into town, then I recommend just going into the hills there. But if you could travel a little farther on, you will get to the point of no return. So as far as my number 6 piece of advice, I have Wild Wasteland on. If you don't have Wild Wasteland on, this won't be here. This is a reference to the Indiana Jones movie, the much maligned Crystal Skull, where he hides himself in a refrigerator and gets it launched in the nuclear explosion. Well, in this one, he died in the attempt, but you get a hat for it. So the cemetery is way up there. That's where we're going next. Now, back to my advice number 2. Advice number 2 was to loot all of the mailboxes, right? It's like, why do you loot all the mailboxes? I tell everybody to loot all the mailboxes when you come out because when you start this stupid mission with Lucy, all these get reset. And now you can go through the whole entire town again, go to all 13 of them, and find new magazines or junk. Some of them will be empty, but already I've got 2 magazines and some cigarettes to sell. So that is the reason why I tell people to do that. Go to every one of these. The first thing you do when you come out, just get it out of the way because they will respawn when you do the mission for her. They otherwise will respawn every few days. Basically, if you go off and do a bunch of missions and then come back to Goodsprings, if you use it as your home base, I recommend that every time you come back into town after a few days, go ahead and run around town, hit all 13 of these up. I believe there's 13. There's 3 over here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, there's 13 of these. Except some of them will still be empty. Some of them will have junk. But if you notice, I've already got more magazines on this run through than I did on the last one. I'm not sure whether it matters or not. If you leave them full of junk, if the junk stays there, it's possible, which is why I always say if there's junk in there, go ahead and take it out. Because the last thing you want to do is just leave something full of junk that's never going to respawn. It probably respawns, but I'm not sure, so I just recommend go ahead and taking it all. Oh, there's one other thing up here I didn't show you, which is also part of this little mailbox run. I recounted. There's 14 mailboxes. I forgot there's 3 over here and 1 over there. I was missing my count. I forgot about this trailer. If you don't want to live in a house, this is another alternative place to live, but there's also a magazine in here. There's a bed. There's some storage. But it is out in the world, so expect this stuff to respawn at some point. Maybe it doesn't, but I wouldn't trust it. I don't trust things out in the world to not respawn at some point. Okay, got through with that. Now, this time, a stupid little scorpion, or a little bark scorpion spawns. It also spawns because of the mission. If you were to make this climb earlier, it wouldn't be here. It's also possible if Victor is in the area, he will see it as a threat and he'll come over and attack it. Okay, up to the cemetery. I'm gonna have 3 or 4 bloat flies up here. Well, it looks like 4 this time. Okay, there's your Brock flower. Now, something very easy to miss. Distinctive cigarette butt. Take one of those. The guy who buried you here was smoking these things, chain smoking them. Just a useful little thing you're going to need for later. You don't need it, but if you have it, it'll be helpful. That's why you need the shovel. A lot of little graves to rob. You sick bastard. And lastly, there is the snow globe collectible. Comes with experience points. You can loot those bodies of the bloat flies if you're really desperate for something chewy to eat. A little friendly advice, don't go down into this valley. The place is littered with giant rad scorpions. And if you go in far enough, there's also some death claws. So, yeah. Okay, I ventured too far away. So this is, whenever you reach this point of no return, this is your last chance. If you want to rename your character, rebuild his stats from scratch. Otherwise, that's your last chance to kind of tweak your character. Now, we finished with 1, we finished with 2, got through I think 6. Advice, some free advice for number 7. Don't travel north on this road. There are cazadors up here. Cazadors are very fast, very dangerous, very poisonous, very deadly. This is no joke. This is not someplace you want to go on a willy-nilly journey. I will create. I'm going to have another video where I show some little secret spots that'll deal with that. It is possible to go north and get to New Vegas quickly by taking this route. Well, quickly, quickly is not a That's not really true, but you can get that way directly. If you look at the map here, blah, 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 blah. There's Goodsprings, there's New Vegas. We are that close to New Vegas. But traveling north is incredibly dangerous. But there's a nice little, there's a spot in there. I recommend, there's a certain tactic you should probably use. I'll make another video on that. But for now, it's not important. At this point, I'm going to travel back. Oh, wait, we're not done yet. I still got to go to the schoolhouse. So again, you could have gone through the schoolhouse already. I recommend doing it after talking with Sunny. I called her Lucy before. Sunny. Yeah, these guys are at the schoolhouse. I got a little too close to the schoolhouse and ran away, and so that's why they were out there following me around. They spawn them on the outside once you do start doing this mission. So all she wants is the little roots here, and if you do her mission, 3 of them will spawn here. Boom, boom, boom. There's also some wild jalapenos over here. Get those. You can completely avoid this. You could do it prior to talking to Sunny, or after you talk to Sunny, she gives you the magazine and the lockpicks. Or this place has got all sorts of little mantises, including a ton of babies that I just squished. Don't underestimate these little fuckers. There's an achievement for bug stomping that you can get by stepping on all these little nymphs. You can loot all of them for legs, which you can cook and do some stuff with. But let's see. I want to make sure. Is that the last of them? Oh, what do you know? I'm out of ammo. There we go. So, inside the school, look very carefully. There's lots of debris and rubble on the ground, and it's easy to miss some of these magazines that are on the ground. Most of the stuff in here isn't worth taking. I recommend just leaving it. But make sure you collect all the magazines that are available. There's usually one there and one on the floor back there. There's this little cluster of desks. There's always a magazine there. Some of the the desks are accessible as holding stuff. Some of them aren't. Some caps, no biggie. There's another magazine here. Again, it's very easy to miss some of these. They blend in with the environment pretty nicely. I'm not going to number my little hints at this point because I'll lose track and then I'm going to look stupid trying to remember them. But another little hint. And this works here and in several other places in the game. We have a safe here we can unlock with lockpicking or with your computer skills, your science skills. If you unlock it with science, you won't be able to pick it, and if you unlock it with a picket, you won't be able to do it with science. But the science one, Programmer's Digest. Now, right now, I don't have a science of 25, so I'm going to go ahead and go use a magazine. Which gives me plus 10. This little hint is an experience points hint more than anything else, but you can also get an idea of what it's like to pick one of these things. You're going to give this little array with all sorts of little words on it. Before you start wildly, randomly guessing words, go through and find any matched set of brackets, bracers, ellipses, or parentheses. Wow, there are hardly any of them matched here. Each of those sets that you find will eliminate one of the incorrect answers. So I recommend doing this first. Wow. There's two. One of them replenishes your allotment, which is one it sucks to get that one, but oh well. Oh well, there was only one. Well, we're going to start off with, I'm going to do burning. Okay, well there's only one letter correct, which is nice because it's an ing word. This is a little bit of advice. Pick a word that has a suffix or a prefix that's repeated a lot. Well, because only one of these numbers is right, you know that ing is not a part of the password. So you know it's not burning, warning, banning, landing. Any of the ing words are already eliminated. But one of these letters is right. So burning. Well, there's one letter correct with remains. Okay, well, now we know that there's two of these letters are correct. Remains. There's only one of those, so that's not a correct word. Remains. Only one of those. Remain. Only one of those. Remains. Okay, two of these. The I and the S are correct. There's our word. Okay, now, the next bit of advice, though, is do not unlock this. It's going to give you the option to disengage the lock. Exit out of this. You got experience. You gained some experience just by cracking it. Now you want to get experience lockpicking. So now you got experience doing both. But see, if you do the lockpicking, you won't have the option to not accept it. Gotta level up. I don't care about unarmed. Perfect. And your first perk. Here's the thing. I was just going to show you the guys this, but I leveled up, so I didn't get a chance. These will be different. Some of these are based on your sex, so like Lady Killer and Confirmed Bachelor are if you're a man. There's different ones for a woman. All they do is give you a bonus, basically, in interactions and damage and so forth with the opposite sex or the same sex. Hunter is great. They're going to fight a lot of animals, mutated animals, early on in the game, especially. It's great against geckos. There's so many geckos in this game. This is a nice skill to have, or perk. Intense training, it's great if you really want to be a min-maxer and you want to maximize all your special abilities, but God, I would not want to play a game where I was just investing all my points into specials. But if you made a mistake and you absolutely have to have 1 point higher in an ability in order to get some other ability, then maybe you're going to need to use that once or twice. Because a lot of these some of these, like this one, you need to have an agility of 6 and a repair skill of 45. Well, I don't have the repair skill. I do have an agility of 6. But let's say I only had an agility score of 5 and I really wanted that ability. I have to wait a couple of levels to get it. Well, might be your only safe way of doing that. Rapid reload, fine, whatever. Retention makes the magazine, when you use a magazine, last 3 times as long. That's great, but I rarely need to use the magazine for 3 or 4 or 5 different things. Outside of cooking, if you're at a campfire and you want to do medical things, or you want to do a bunch of different survival skills, maybe. But I'm picking Swift Learner, which gives me a 10% bonus to experience. I'll explain why. Because one of the perks that you get at the beginning, I told you I had Wild Wasteland. The other one I picked was Skilled. And Skilled, basically you're skilled, but you're not experienced. I get +5 to all of my skills, but I have a minus 10% to experience points from then on. So by taking Swift Learner, I'm kind of, negating it. Technically, it's about a percentage off, but yeah, I'm trying to get back the 10% I sacrificed there. So now I don't have the penalty, or at least not much of a penalty. Okay, we're done here. Got to go back to Sunny, okay, you got a couple of options here. You can either sell some stuff, store some stuff. I'm going to store some stuff because I don't really feel like going back and selling a bunch of junk again. I do not need the binoculars, so I'm going to go and put those in there. If I resort to melee, I'm really in bad shape. Yeah, it's out of ammo. I'm only carrying the varmint rifle because I want to get a better one, and I want to use this one to fix that one. Because varmint rifle is not a bad long-distance weapon. It fires 5.56 millimeter rounds. It's not a horrible weapon, but this one's in bad shape, so I need to kind of fix it up. That's only a pound. It's not. I gotta see if there's anything here that weighs a lot that I don't really need. Never get rid of doctor's bags. They're lifesavers. Moonshine gives you +2 strength, +2 charisma. So it's definitely worth carrying. A little bit of purified water is okay. Oh yeah, the weapon repair kits. Yeah, I'm going to burn through those in a sec. I don't need that. Don't need any of this. Plunger. I probably don't need anything that's in here, but anything that weighs something I don't need. Again, this is just in lieu of going back to the guy and selling a bunch of stuff. I just don't want to waste time. I want to wrap up this first guide. My basic guide to Goodsprings. Actually, I don't want to go up there. That'll lead to my... I'm going to have a part 2 to Goodsprings, where I'm going to cover some of the some of the things that are in the immediate surrounding area that are useful to know. Before you leave this place, you want to kind of hit these other spots up. Oops, that was a little hard. Come on, load up. Load up. Load up. That doesn't matter. Some of these little campsites have bottles and things. You can go ahead and pick up a few bottles. You might be able to make something at the campfire. Can't do anything with Nuka-Cola or milk bottles, so they're fine to leave behind. But the liquor bottles, they're great. You can make stuff. Ooh, okay.
Let me see what you got. Yeah, these will do just fine. Just fine. All right now.
Okay. He's making healing powder.
Hey, that's not bad, see? All it takes to make a recipe is the right ingredient. Sometimes it won't be a important thing to get is well,
okay.
I'm heading back now.
Now, here's the next
Hope
bit of
I didn't miss
advice.
anything good on the jukebox. Cheyenne would never forgive me. Hey, do me a favor. Trudy, she's the bartender up at the Prospector. Kind of the town mom. She likes to meet newcomers. She'd be cross with me if I didn't ask you to poke your head in and say hi.
So again, At this point, you have a decision to make. Now, I can't hardly make anything. My survival skill sucks. And so are my other traits. But yeah, there's a lot of things you can make here. So she wants you to go back and talk to her back at the tavern, which is fine. Totally fine to go ahead and do that now. There's nothing that's at loss for doing that. But I will make one bit of advice, and I'll show you why in the next video I record, I think. Once you free Goodsprings from the terror of these powder ganger invaders, which is what she's going to lead you to, then if you complete the Goodsprings missions, you won't be able to do stuff at the NCR prison. So I recommend not completing the Goodsprings stuff until later. Go ahead and go to the prison first, do the missions for them, then go to Goodsprings and complete the missions.
Hello? Can you help me? Fine. Have you decided to help?
We'll deal with this in the next video. I'm going to go ahead and quit out of this. Oh. So that is my guide number 1 for Fallout New Vegas, specifically the first part of your introduction to Goodsprings and the initial missions. All of this is just advice. Take with it what you will. It's just from my experience in playing. The biggest bit of advice is to, again, loot all of the mailboxes before doing the missions for these survival missions, because they will reset when you go back into town, basically giving you a double dip option for 14 mailboxes. That's pretty good. But also just some little helpful things and things maybe you didn't know or maybe you had bypassed without thinking about. That's going to end it for this video. I have to quit out of this. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll have some more useful content in the coming videos.